arrears assistance to help eligible households retain permanent housing for $298,783. This is legislative request 40.
So moved. So second.
Okay.
So
Floor is
the
yours.
Shelter Expense Arrears Eviction Installment Program, we call it SAFE, it's a little easier to say, is funded through an appropriation to the New York State budget. There are no local funds in this program. The program is for expenses related to the payment of shelter arrears with the goal of preventing people from being evicted from their homes and becoming homeless. It allows for up to 6 months of arrears per household. That does not have to be consecutive months. Families and individuals are both eligible. They must apply for the emergency assistance to families or emergency safety net assistance first. If they're ineligible for that, then they're assessed for the SAFE program. They have to meet income eligibility requirements that are the same as the emergency assistance to families or emergency safety net, which is currently at or below 200% of poverty.
Any questions?
Yes.
Real quick, 6 months per year or 6 months per lifetime that they're in this?
I believe it is for the lifetime that they can have
Or it is
that,
for the program?
for the whole program. So, but you could
Go
have.
6 and 6 is-
Correct. But you could potentially have had another one of those programs that I mentioned and still be eligible for this one as a completely separate benefit.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Right, Legislator Benson?
So that means every time we get a transfer of money from the state for a particular amount, it starts a new program?
This is a brand new program. It's separate from the other two. So this one does start a new program. They could potentially give us additional funding for this program in the future, but it would be for the same program line.
Okay,
And it's the year's allocation, so each state fiscal year would have a different allocation of those dollars.
okay.
And they've seemed to indicate that it would continue, but obviously, you know, the housing situation is what it's all about.
How are the eligibility requirements different, if at all, from the rental assistance program?
So the rental assistance program is for longer term potentially. So somebody could be eligible for that program. They have to be able to maintain their portion of the rent. With this program, there is more flexibility for somebody. So you don't have to prove that you're going to be able to continue to make payments because it's a shorter term, where rental assistance you could be on for several years. This one is.
And the rental assistance is going forward,
Mhm.
and this
This
is
is
going
backwards.
backwards.
Got it, okay. All right,
One more thing.
yes.
Is there a cap on the amount that someone can be given?
So I believe there is a cap, but it is higher than some of the other programs. I have to,
You don't need to look now, you could find out and let the clerk know.
yeah, it is
That's
in
fine.
here, but I'll.
Well,
have to look it up
and
for you.
let's not forget, we're capped at the total dollar amount, and we do need to attempt to help as many
Right,
individuals as we can.
that's why I was just asking if there was an
You
individual
know.
person cap.
It's not as strict as the other ones for the fair market rent, but I believe there is a cap, but I can confirm the amount.
Great, thank you, that's fine.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so next we move on to B. B1, request to accept and appropriate funds from the Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance to the DSS 2025 budget for the Family-Centered Case Management Services to provide funds to hire credentialed and experienced staff to provide case management services to families, totaling $496,153, and this is legislative request 41.
So moved. Second.
So family-centered case management services are also funded through a state budget allocation and also have no local funds in this program. It is a program that I've mentioned before. We discussed many times in our meetings about the number of families who are homeless now, which is a nationwide program. We're seeing it all across the state and the nation that more families are homeless. So because of that, we have more families who are in hotel rooms. This program is really designed to assist those families, provide an intensive level of case management, mental health, and employment services to try to bring them to the point of being financially stable and hopefully permanently housed in a better situation. We were required to submit a plan to OTDA for this allocation. They have accepted and approved our plan, which includes 3 contractual housing case managers, 1 contractual employment specialist, 1 contractual community mental health specialist, which would be a social worker or similar licensed provider, as well as an account clerk, which is our second part of this.
Any discussion or questions? No. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so now we move on to V2. Request to create 1 account clerk, grade 6 position to provide necessary clerical support to ensure all required documents are in place and meet the requirements established with the allocation. No local funds involved, and this is a legislative request. 41.
So moved. Second.
So in looking at the requirements of this program, meeting as a team, we decided that it made sense to have clerical support attached to the program. Because that is the title that exists in the county, this would be a county position. And we really think it's essential to get all of the required documentation so that we don't lose the allocation of funding in the future by not reporting. So we are looking to have a grade 6 account clerk to support this program moving forward. And this is ongoing funding is what we are being told by the state. So we will be receiving this money year after year.
Okay, so that was my question. Yes.
You can ask.
Go ahead.
No, you can ask. Go ahead.
I know the question. Yeah, so when the grant goes away, the person goes away?
If
It
the grant,
doesn't,
Well, it's not
no,
worded yet.
it doesn't state that there.
yes, if the grant goes away, we would probably end up eliminating the position because the funding would go away. I don't think we,
Unless there was a decision of a need and we brought forward, and because then we'd have to request the funding for it, because we wouldn't have the funding already.
So Betsy, does it need to say that?
Well, if you want to be clear and abolish the position after the funds are terminated, that would have to be stated now. We can make a motion to do that. Otherwise, what will happen is the position will remain open. And
Right.
if they want to fund it later on, they'll have to come to the legislature to ask for that funding.
That would be for a
I'll make
committee. Yeah.
Make that motion to amend, to abolish the position upon the grant. Second.
So, motion is on the floor to amend to abolish the position when. the
If
grant
and when
comes through.
funding.
Mhm. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and now to vote on the original motion. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. So now we move on to C, request to accept and appropriate funds from the Office of Children and Family Services to the DSS 2025 budget for the Orange County Multidisciplinary Team / Child Advocacy Center program to offset program expenses, including staffing equipment, supplies, and occupancy costs and training. This funding is supplemental funding from the New York State Office of Children and Family Services totaling $66,666, and this is legislative request 42.
So moved. Second.
so these are supplemental funds awarded to the multidisciplinary team at our Child Advocacy Center. They help cover the program costs associated with providing this service. Our multidisciplinary team is a coordinated investigation and response to children who have experienced abuse, physical or sexual abuse that rises to a very high level where criminal charges might also be included. Having this team helps ensure that the children are only interviewed once if possible. So the investigation is shared, and this is additional funds from the state to just support the team further.
Wonderful. Any discussion or questions? It's majority
How
leader.
long has this team been in existence?
You know, Todd, it's been in existence for quite a long time.
Well, prior to this, we had a team, but it wasn't an official CAC team, and I think about 4 years ago,
Okay.
is when the official CAC, and there was a grand opening and such. at Hatfield Lane, so they were already at Hatfield Lane when it happened.
So the CAC is the location where they have the interviews, they have the ability to videotape those interviews to make sure that we can share testimony versus the child having to repeat the story.
Yeah, no, that's very good, because I know being part of the settlement team for last 10 or 12 years, the county has had to settle on claims from children from many years ago, so it's good to see that you have that here to, I think, help prevent that for the future. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And now we move on to the monthly reports.
Okay, one follow-up question, which is driving me crazy. They list all the counties on the back, and if you take Ulster, they're getting 116,000, Sullivan's getting 96,000, Rockland gets 135,000, we're getting 280 something. Which is kind of correlative to where we live in population and stuff like that, but if you go to Westchester, right across the river, they're getting over 1 million. So is there a formula that they went through? How is this discrepancy? I mean, there's a couple of counties up here that are getting $1 million, and there's a couple of counties that are getting $20,000. You know,
I don't know how they determine the allocation. I can look into it and see if that's something
no,
that they share.
it's really all over the place. It's definitely the basement population. According to the way I look at it. And I thought Westchester was a rich county. So why are
It also had that portion of the city,
they got Mount Vernon?
yeah, Mount Vernon, and
But
then
they
it
get
goes
five-
into the city.
They get 5
also.
times as much. So there's some kind of formula.
They definitely are a larger, larger total population.
Well, then if you go up to Erie County, which is a lot smaller population, they're getting 1.5 million.
Actually, Erie is Buffalo, right? So
Erie's
that's a
big,
big
too.
population
That is,
too.
okay, all right. My fault.
It could also be based on the number of reports and how many children are seen through this, but that's something I can try to find out.
It's also the fact that everyone's CAC was developed at a different time, over time. In other words, some had a CAC in place years prior to us, for example, because it was all a matter of when they took on the process of getting a CAC.
So it's not based on us requesting money. We're going to give us based on X, Y, and Z, it's based on something.
Right, I mean, and again, as Lacey said, we'd have to look through the
Okay,
document to see if there's any formula that explained it.
thank you.
All right, can I get a motion to discuss the report?
So this is the December report, so it brings us through year end for 2024. The first page is temporary assistance. Temporary assistance was provided to 1,479 cases in December, which is actually the same as in November. TA is made up of family assistance and safety net. Family assistance was down 9 and safety net was up 9, which is why we ended up with the same number. Average family assistance cases per month was 554.3 in 2024, which is up from the average of 517 in 2023. Safety net was 786.1 in 2024, up from 751.1 in 2023. The bottom chart is employment. There were 24 recipients entered employment in December for a total of 314 people in 2024. Your next page is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. There were 18,923 cases receiving SNAP benefits in December, which is a month-to-month increase of 9 cases. Our average in 2024 was 18,364.2, up from an average of 17,708.3 in 2023. There were 737 heat payments in December. This is slightly higher than December of last year, but very similar to December of last year.
Keep applications open until March.
We believe the HEAP applications will be open till March. They will let us know when they closed. The state closed HEAP applications for a couple of days. I think it ended up being about 3 days for regular HEAP. They ran out of federal funds. They were able to allocate 35 million in state dollars to open the program back up, and they believe that will bring us through March. The emergency heap was still available, but the regular heap had closed.
Legislator Julie.
Also, with regards to that, when they ran out, we have the Orange County Fuel Fund.
Mhm.
Is that still up and running? And
Yes.
how is that, what kind of balance do we have in there? Do we run that or does someone, you, I mean, you run it or
Recap.
somebody else? Recap does. Because I'd just be curious to see, how that's tracking and how did they pick up a little extra? Did they see a tick up when the state ran it?
So we still accepted applications when the state closed regular heap. So we ended up just having our staff do overtime and process those applications so that people didn't go without, because within 1 week. I think it was the 21st through the 23rd
And
or
it all
24th.
changed in a given week. too.
So we were able to still process those applications.
So did you kind of partner with the Orange County Fuel Fund that if, so you process those through the Orange County Fuel Fund when you hit that snag there?
No, we just,
You said you
we
process
kept the applications. As soon as it reopened, we entered them in the system so people could continue to
When do they,
receive
when do
benefits.
they tap into the Orange County Fuel Fund?
That would be if somebody is maybe not eligible for HEAP
Yeah.
and, because it has less stringent requirements for income eligibility and things like that. That's usually when the fuel fund is used, because if somebody's eligible for HEAP, we want to use those dollars first.
And there are limited dollars for the fuel
Yeah.
fund. So
Yeah.
therefore, you want to make sure you're
Yeah.
using all other alternatives first.
Yep.
And then if they
Yes.
can't meet one of those other alternatives, then they're directed to the fuel fund.
Yeah, and usually folks have to have some sort, like a denial from HEAP in order to qualify for the fuel fund.
Can we get a report from Recap and see over the last 2 years how it's been going
Yeah.
and how much they use, what the balance is? Because I forget how much we put into it over a couple of years ago, I think it was. But it'd
Yeah,
just be,
I actually inquired, but I don't have those numbers off the top of my, we just looked into this last month,
Yeah.
actually.
Currently, there's about 222,000 in the budget for it, of which only 100,000, I believe, is in the fund itself, and the remainder goes for administrative costs. And Recap did, when we did the resolution previously, which I believe was in 2022,
Two, I believe, yeah.
they did agree to lower their administrative costs to account for more funding
to go
for,
to the
correct,
actual
for the,
people that need it.
correct.
And did you know if that happened?
As far as
As far as them bringing down their administrative costs?
That,
it was contractual,
Yeah.
and I believe that did go through law. I certainly can't speak to, what happened from there, but I can imagine that it would have been agreed upon if they would have moved forward if it wasn't.
It might have been agreed upon, but it might not have been followed up on. So that's, if we could take a look at that, that would be great to get a good accounting of an update. And I don't know, would that be something that you would look into or
We can reach out.
can reach out to them? Okay, great.
reach out to
Thank
Recap.
you, Chairwoman.
Majority Leader Benson.
Is there an individual cap amount for family or address or something like that? For HEAP?
There is a cap on HEAP. I don't know what the current cap is, though.
Okay,
But
you
there
can
is a
find that.
certain amount that would be covered each year for somebody. Do you know
And a
that?
regular amount and a emergency amount.
Yeah, and I think we discussed before, there's a pooling benefit associated as well for certain individuals who qualify, as well as clean and tune services so that people's systems can be maintained, which are all individual things that are applied for.
Right. Okay, if you could find that, that'd be great.
Next page, page 4, is emergency housing placements. In December, there were 19.9 families and 47.2 singles in emergency housing shelters on average. We ended the year with an average of 20 families and 46.4 singles per month. Last year's year-end average was 15.6, or 2023 was 15.6 and 38.8 respectively. So a very big increase in those numbers. The next page shows you our hotel motel. which is what the case management, family-centered case management program is looking to help with families in this group. In December, there were 131 families and 161 singles placed in hotels and motels. For 2024, there was an average of 112.5 families and 116.5 singles. This is a significant increase compared to 2023, where it was 63.7 and 25.8 respectively. Project Life ended the year with an average of 12 families, which is slightly down from last year's average of 14. There were 822 individuals experiencing homelessness who received services in December. This is slightly less than the November number, but the monthly average for 2024 was 737, which is 250 more than last year's average monthly number of individuals receiving support for homelessness. Page 6 starts Medicaid. In December, there was a total of 20,614 locally managed Medicaid cases. Our average for 2024 was 20,675 cases per month. 2023 was an average of 22,007. That is, again, with the unwind expected decreases because the recertification process became required again, where it was waived during COVID. Those cases equated to 22,627 individual recipients for the month of December. Managed care numbers increased slightly between November and December. However, if you look at the overall change from 23 to 24, there's an average of 9,214 cases per month in 2023, down to an average of 7,108 cases in 2024, or a change in 2024. So that is also going down because of the unwind. This next table is the number of individuals in Orange County who are receiving Medicaid benefits in a given month. Since the last report we received May's 2024 data and an update to March and April. In May of 2024, there were 107,091 Medicaid cases through the exchange. Those are the ones that we don't know locally. The next page.
You know, just wait on Medicaid. Is there two different classifications of Medicaid? So like regular Medicaid, with illnesses and things like that, and also, is there a difference between that and someone that goes out because of work related to their Social Security disability?
So if you have Social Security disability, you could also potentially have Medicaid. A lot of times you end up having Medicare as part of that disability, but that doesn't mean somebody couldn't potentially have Medicaid and Medicare at the same time and be duly eligible. Where we see most of the differences is somebody may have Medicaid for hospital only because they had presented at an emergency room, had very expensive services. The hospital was able to work to get them Medicaid, but it doesn't extend to outpatient care for them.
Okay, thank you.
Legislator Toto? Thank you. Circle back on a huge question that I missed was, what is the process time from the time somebody completely submits their application to a determination right now?
So the goal is to have that done within a 30-day time period. Emergency HEAP would be done faster,
Right.
but this is an application for the ongoing expense. So 30 days is the goal. We've been having our staff work overtime to try to stick to that 30-day time frame.
So you're saying maybe within 30 to 40 days?
For the most part, yes. I mean, they are getting 17,000 to 2,000 applications a week and getting through them as fast as they can. So I think most of the time we're within that time frame, but I can see if there's some that are outliers in there.
And then the same question in Medicaid, when somebody applies for Medicaid through the county, what's the in processing time they submit their application to a determination?
That can vary significantly based on how long it takes to get all of the documentation. Do you know the timeframe required off the top of your head?
But let's remember, the ones that we're dealing with are generally the long-term care and those that are a little more complicated, so therefore there's more documents that are needed, and we're in a constant attempt to get that information from them so that we can in fact continue the process. So that just tends to make it last longer than you sometimes want it to last because you're
Right.
waiting for documentation from the
An
consumer.
example of that would be with Valley View and other nursing homes, trying to collect everything that's needed to get them the benefit
Right.
they need.
A lot of the times, the individual is not capable of giving you the information, so you've got to get it from,
Outside
their
family
associates,
members,
yeah.
other sources. Okay. Thank you, thank you.
So page 8 is our raise the age statistics. In December, we were 2 higher than our last report with 10 total arrests, 5 in each category, which would be 5 felonies and 5 misdemeanors.
Legislative Sullivan.
I'm noticing there's a huge jump from 22 to 23 to 24. Do we know anything about that? Why, or do we know of a trend of why it's rising like that? Like that's,
I don't think we know
Tremendous.
definitively why it's rising, but there are more. I think when Raise the Age first came out, there was a tendency to not press charges, and over time that has increased where they're back to pressing charges for these things that may have been brought forward, but no formal charges were pressed. So I think that is part of it, and I think COVID is part of it as well, where kids are back to school, back, out in public. We're seeing that uptick year after year as the kids are out and really still struggling with the impact of COVID and the time away from school, the time away from social interactions with other kids.
thank you.
Next page, on page 9 is our child protective services data. There were 292 reports of child abuse and neglect investigated in December. 180 were assigned to traditional response and 112 were assigned to FAR. There was 3,620 total traditional and FAR responses in 2024. That is 292 less than in 2023. So we have seen a decrease in the number of reports.
How many did you say in December for 2024 traditional?
Traditional response is 180. Foster care services, we talked last time about them being lower. They're down a little bit more again this month. We provided out-of-home placements to 177 children in December. Our average for 2024 was 201 children per month, which is down from 220 per month in 2023. The bottom graph is home care. There were 328 home care cases in December. 2024 year-end average was 304, which is 32 more than last year's average. Next section is on child support. The child support unit served 9,616 cases in December. In 2024, they collected and dispersed $41,707,553. This is a little over 2 million more than they did in 2023. Special investigations, they investigated 160 feds and EDR cases in December with the goal of preventing inappropriate payments. The combined 2024 cost avoidance for feds and EDR cases in Orange County is over $9.4 million. This unit also investigated 41 allegations of fraud in December and 28 were substantiated. 721 were investigated in all of 2024, 559 were substantiated. This was an additional cost savings of $91,603.75.
Questions? Well, thank you so much. And I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I did. I'm still not, like I